Okay. So, music festivals are really interesting things. Um, I'm not like a Coachella person. I've never been. I've never even been the least bit interested, if you want me to be honest. I don't know. Call me a glamper, except for like very specific artists. I know it's gonna sound really weird, but like I'm not really the biggest music person. But I do love to dance. I love to dance, if you can call whatever I do dancing. I don't care what people think or what I look like. I love to get out in the middle of the dance floor and shake my ass. So I guess there's that. But what I'm getting at is that I know that there's people that are like really hardcore about music festivals and they have their friends they go with and they have their traditions, as is the case with my former roommate. I'm not even going to give her a pseudonym, but she and her friends went to Lightning in a Bottle every year. And it actually is worth mentioning that this girl, she was pretty straight edge. Like, she didn't even smoke weed. So, I thought it was interesting that, because and again, I didn't know that I had anything about music festivals, but I just assumed that that's what people did at music festivals, right? Like, but, anyway, anyway, I get an email from Jane, and it is somewhat after the interaction I described in the previous video, because if I'm not mistaken, this new roommate who Jane knew, who we all knew, that's why I'm not even gonna like bother assigning her a pseudonym. It was someone who was already in our lives, because again, Jane and I lived together in that same apartment the year prior. And anyway, you know what? Let's call her Lauren. Let's just call her Lauren. So Lauren moved into the empty room that was previously occupied by our former roommate, the one that I lived with Jane. It was me, Jane, and this other person, the three of them. So now Lauren occupied that room with the former roommate, and the room that I had split with Jane, I now split with two other people. Okay, just to make it easy. So Lauren and her friends, who she had known since freshman year at UC Santa Barbara, they all went to Lightning in a Bottle every year. Lauren had just finished a master's program, and Lauren and I had gone to Mexico at the end of the year, at the end of both of our years, because even though we were the same age, remember, I took that year off. And so I was finishing my bachelor's at the same time that she was finishing her 1 year master's program. So anyway, I'm giving all these details for a reason, but bottom line is that Jane emailed me, said that she had this extra ticket for Lightning in a Bottle Music Festival, the same music festival that Lauren and all her friends were going to. And what I later came to find out, was that Jane could not really find anyone else to go with, because Jane didn't really have, like, Jane and I were friends. She was my best friend, and then we had our friends, but what I really came to find out was that it was mostly my friends. So I forget how she, like, propositioned it, but she made it seem like she had this extra ticket, and then later on I found out that she had asked several of, again, my friends, and could find no one to go with. But anyway, I take her up on her extra ticket, and I'll never forget. So we meet up at this fairground, Lightning in a Bottle, kind of Central California, not too far from San Luis Obispo. I forget the name of the town, but like most of these things are, like, out in the middle of nowhere, right? And so Jane and I are planning to, like, have our campsite. And I know this is all sounding really weird, right? Like, me and my ex at a music festival. I'm going for the free ticket, right? Why am I lying? And Jane is going so that the other ticket that she has doesn't go to waste. And as we're going to the campsite, that was when we kind of crossed with Lauren's group and decided, hey, let's all join together. And all I can say is thank God that happened, because it would have been so awkward in retrospect if Jane and I were together and alone that entire time. And honestly, it wasn't a bad experience. I'll be honest. I tried to get some, and Jane brushed me off and said that she was on her period, and I think that was just an excuse, but that did not happen. I'm just gonna say that. Otherwise, the music festival was a fun experience. Lightning in a bottle. The vibes and the energy was so good. Was what really blew my mind. Was that there were people who, I guess, just from appearance wise, I just expected to be douchey and expected to be one kind of way. And I realized that I was very wrong, and that was not, that I shouldn't have been judging people like that. Again, this is the only music festival I've been to. I only went because I had a free ticket, but I had a great time. It was a great, solid time. I'll never forget those, I feel like the one thing that I remember and that I learned is to definitely come more prepared. The people that come prepared are the best, that come with their coolers, they just have all the stuff that they need, because otherwise you're at the mercy of buying it there. But at the end of the weekend, I want to say we drove my car up there, and I want to say that Lauren and I drove together. Yes, we definitely drove together because we lived together. And then, but we weren't necessarily planning on hanging out together until we got to the campground. And then Jane went and drove her way back up Northern California. We went back down to Santa Barbara. And I remember giving her a hug at the end. And I kind of had a thought, and I kind of realized that would be the last time that I saw her. And I don't know. I vaguely remember tagging her in a Facebook picture or trying to add her on Facebook, and then she rejecting the tag, something like that. And I remember feeling having this sense of no, it's over. It's really over. And I remember feeling wow, we were together 3 years. And I get it. You don't want your parents knowing that we're still hanging out or that we have been hanging out, but you literally could find no one else to go to this music festival but your ex, who was your best friend. And I guess that's how we're gonna leave it. I guess it's over like that. So anyway, that's Lightning in a Bottle Music Festival. And then we'll talk about the rest of senior year and getting on with that.